Welcome to Quick Bite. Thank you everybody for joining us today. I know it takes a lot to leave production and go in front of a computer. Hopefully you're doing your lunch during that time. My name is Ben Topaz. I run and operate a dental lab in Prospect, Illinois. We've been in business since '98. Gold Ceramic is a family-owned business. Me and my wife manage it together. My wife manages all the administration side, and I'm in charge of all production. As a lab owner, I'm really involved in every aspect because today we all know that the most important thing is the workflow, and to improve workflow, we need to know what materials we use. Today we are going to talk about, from one lab to another, I want to talk to you as a lab owner, lab manager, about my production. I know everybody's going through a lot of changes in production with all these new technologies. Materials are coming out every month. You read about new things. So we want to take advantage of the technology and materials to get a better workflow, better results, and better consistency with our customers. So today we're going to talk about the advantages of using specific zirconia and not a lot of different types of zirconia and still hit all the applications that are needed. We're going to look at a case study. We have two cases that I'm going to show you some results and how we overcome some different difficulties and how we achieve those results. I don't want to read the whole thing. You guys can read it while I go through some specific things. So high aesthetic and strong zirconia. We can achieve so many different restorations that in the past you needed 3 or 4 different types of zirconia to achieve those things with one zirconia today. And Zirconia transition is, Zirlux Transition is the one that we chose as a lab to actually overcome the changing of pucks in our milling units in order to achieve results for different applications. Today we can go to one puck and mill everything, no matter if it's a high translucency, if it's a solid zirconia, if it's an implant case, if it's a full arch. And when they say it has smart incisal, it does have smart incisal. And I'll go over that a little bit later. You can control that with your centering oven. We figured out our workflow, how to do it, how to separate our milled units into separate centering ovens, or have multiple centering ovens. That's what we do. I know it depends on size of lab, how many centering ovens you have. You know, I'm sure all of you have seen this with every manufacturer that comes to you and try to sell you zirconia. The high translucency number and percentages, which we as technicians, when we look at it, we don't know what's percentage. The strength of it, the shades, everybody comes to you with the same similar type of chart. I can tell you they're not all the same. From our experience, and the moment we switch to the transition, Zirlux Transition, we can achieve better results. We can achieve a better workflow. And the fact that it's made in the US is very, very important to us. Everybody is familiar now with the whole supply chain, delays, shipments. And we have not ran the last 2 years with any problem of supply or the vendor telling us, sorry, I don't have that shade right now. So that's a big thing for us, at least, because we never want to be down. Every hour a day that you don't have a specific material actually costs you a lot more in overtime to catch up. So we do not want to do that. And this is a little bit about articles that we've been involved in. I think the IDT one is from 2020. Back then we grew 35%. 2021 we actually grew 50%. And I'm saying that not to brag about how much we're growing. I'm saying that because we're able to grow because we figured out our workflow. The hardest thing today is finding employees. And to grow, not only you need to get the business, you need to get employees, skilled employees to do that. So we're able to grow by 50%. We went from 35 employees to over 50, but we grew a lot more than we had to add employees because with our workflow, with the Zirlux Transition, we're able to produce more with less amount of employees and labor. So that's a big part of it, especially when it comes to layering zirconia. So using Zirlux Transition, because it has such a smart technology in it with different temperatures that we use in the oven in the centering stage, and it does have that transition of colors in the multi-shaded pack, we're able, all our zirconia, layered zirconia, we're actually doing a cutback. So I can tell you that 80% of our layered zirconia crowns are actually milled and designed as full contour with a cutback. So we save a lot of time on skilled ceramists that can produce more in less time. And with this material, we've never heard from a dentist saying, hey, I wanted layered and he gave me solid, because it looks so beautiful that there is no difference. Another aspect, and that has not a lot to do with the material itself, is we try to really push our doctors to use more technology, more scanners. I know a lot of labs sit there and say, whatever my customer uses, whatever the dentist uses, that's what I take. We proactively go to our doctors and help them make that change to digital. As a lab that needs to take care of their workflow, or the production, on the amount of employees, the materials, workflow is one of the most important things that comes into the lab. I know a lot of labs today do not give their doctors free 3D models for their digital cases. We went to all our doctors and said, because when they get approached by their vendors to buy oral scanners, they're trying to look at the ROIs and they don't see any advantage. But if their lab tells them, I'm not going to charge you for a 3D model, and they're going to save the money on the impression material, then they have an advantage of buying it. And you do want them to buy it because of the shortage of employees, shortage of materials, the workflow in the lab. You want as many digital files coming into the lab. We went from, I think, 2019, from around 20%, now we're at around 40, and we're aiming at 50% of our work coming to us digitally. And that changed everything of how we do things. That has not to do with the material itself, but workflow and profitability is the reason we're here. Improving your workflow, efficiency, growth, profitability, those are the 4 most important things in the lab. So improving your workflow means, how do we actually take a crown from the moment it comes in, if it's an impression or if it's a scan, and take it through our system the most efficient way, the most economical way, and achieve the best results with still staying profitable and consistent, because you want those customers to come back. It's all about keeping your customers. I believe, and my sales reps believe, that's the way we operate. It's not go chase other customers. Let's make sure we keep the ones we have, and the growth actually comes with it, because they'll refer you, they keep on growing, they'll open another office. We don't want to replace the ones we have with doing more sales. We want to keep the ones we have and keep on growing with them. And that has been a great thing for us. So here are the 4 things that actually brought us to Zirlux Transition, and that's how it actually helped us. So manufacturing higher quantity without adding employees. Since we mill only one type of zirconia, when we go to mill, if my milling room got 15 zirconia A2s to mill, some of them are high translucency, some of them are solid, one of them is a big bridge, another one is over an implant. Normally we would have go to 2 or 3 different packs to achieve all those results. Today we put all of them in one pack. What that does for us is it saved us around 20% of milling time. So we can produce 20% more today with the same amount of milling units without having to add more milling units, because the milling unit is not sitting and waiting for a new pack to be loaded. And the same with employees. So the same people that are sitting in that milling room have less work in finding the packs, loading them, unloading them. So we increased our productivity in that room by 20%, and we all know how hard it is to find technician, how expensive equipment is, just by managing our materials. Reducing inventory is where it hits your pocket. You're gonna have, if it's a small lab or a big lab, $2,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 worth of packs sitting on a wall. We found that we reduced it by 30%. That's money we can use for marketing. It's money we can use for R&D, it's money we can use for a lot of other things, instead of it sitting on a wall, and we still have all the supplies we need. Consistent results. So when you mill everything out of one material, your ceramist know what they get. Your customer knows what they get. The moment you start mixing different zirconias for different applications, the results are always different because you're using different zirconias that have different translucencies, different results in color, in shades, in hues. Your ceramists have to invest more time in figuring out every crown instead of having a standard that comes to them on a regular basis. And the same with increasing your productivity or your production. And that's, I went over that over here. We are utilizing our milling units and our employees to produce 20% more, and it's effective the same in our porcelain room. So we grew 20% in production without adding employees because we mill everything on the same pack. And then what we do is we separate into two, and I'm sure you can get from Zahn the different programs for it. We have 3 different programs for the Zirlux in our centering ovens. Now we run 4 centering ovens because of our quantities, so it's easy for us. But if you're a smaller lab, you can run a day burn and a night burn on your centering ovens in different temperatures. We also always make sure we have one, we have nothing of one in the lab. So we'll never have only one centering oven. We'll never have only one press. We never have only one milling unit. We never want to be down. We have 2 compressors that one of them is away overload, but it sits there just in case. We never want to be stuck without being able to produce something. So if a centering oven goes down, we make sure we have another one. We need 3, but we have 4 just in case. And we utilize them to actually use the smart technology in this material because it is a really smart technology. So we mill all of them, take all the A2s, all the A3s, mill them in the same A2 pack, A3 pack, and then we separate them. We take all the interiors and put it in a program in a centering oven that will bring us a higher translucency. We will take all the molars and put them in a lower translucency. Even a customer that asked us for a solid zirconia for an interior, that will come up to our ceramist to give him a solid zirconia. And the one that wanted the high translucency solid, our ceramist will stain it to a higher level. So we actually created a workflow that saves time in your milling room, for your technician, for your equipment, and for the ceramist. They know exactly what they want to get. They know by the description on the lab slip how much staining and characterization they need to put to it. And you have an easier workflow with more production and not having to constantly search for employees or add more equipment. Over here. So you can go through this. I don't want to read the whole thing. This is basically a material that's truly from full arch to single units to inlays, we mill everything with it. And we do a lot of all-on-4s, a lot of full mouth reconstructions with implants. We mill everything with this material. The results are just, and I think at the end I have a few pictures. The results are just spectacular. You cannot tell a difference between a layered zirconia and a solid zirconia. And that's what we want to do in order to actually achieve a workflow. The workflow is the most, I think in the past 10 years ago, before all this technology, the main thing was how much am I paying my employee per hour? How many does he do an hour? Today, it's all about using technology, using all this smart technology, the right materials, and create a workflow that's smooth and consistent. If you have consistency, and I think that's part of why we keep on growing, we're very consistent with our customers. Our customers, before they have a patient sitting in the chair, are not going to sit there and be worried of what am I going to get today, because we use always the same materials, we have the same techniques, and we work on the same path between our designers, our milling, our staining. We all use the same materials, the same techniques to achieve the same results. And with supply chain today, obviously, I'm really happy that this material is made here because that has really helped us out. So this is the case you can see here on the right corner. This is the case, it's solid zirconia. It's a Zirlux transition, obviously, and you can see the transition in it from shade, from the root area all the way to the incisor. And that shows you the results you can achieve. And when I say control your final translucency, you control it with your centering ovens. You control it with the different programs. You can get those from Zahn different programs and then experiment with them. And when I say create consistency with your porcelain room, it falls under the same guideline of what we started the conversation with. You want your porcelain room to know what they're getting every morning, and they know exactly how to stain it because it was centered correctly to give them the right results. I could have sold this bridge or these single units as layered zirconia for a lot more money, but we don't need to, and I don't want to sell it for a few more bucks because my cost of actually building porcelain and having those high-skilled ceramists cost me more. I prefer convincing all my customers to do high translucency zirconia. It costs me less to make, and it overcomes the extra cost or extra charge that I'll charge them for laying porcelain on it. And you can easily get away by doing it with this material. So we can create consistency in the lab, and we can create consistency with our customers, which is very, very, very important. I'm sure when you hear from customers, it's what you want to hear is, yeah, we're consistent, they know what to expect. The last thing you want to hear from a customer is like, before I have a patient in the chair, is I'm hoping the crown's going to look good. I'm going to flip here to, this is just an example case. It's case study number 1. So when you talk about smart technology and strength and lifelike type of material. So this is the case, the patient's a boxer, you can see on all the wears on his natural teeth. Then we needed to make 2 crowns to match that. Obviously his natural teeth have a lot of incisal in them and a nice color, and he's a boxer. So are we gonna go with boxer crowns that will be strong enough, or we're gonna give him the translucency? In this case, we can do both because we're using the right material for it. And you can see how these match and blended in. They look like his natural teeth. We still gave him all the strength and where he needs, and still maintain this beautiful incisal using solid zirconia that has the smart translucency, that has the transition of the colors so it looks natural. And we achieve all the right results. Looking at these 2 cases. So this is the case that we did, I think about a year and a half ago or 2, we did almost a full arch Emax. So these are all Emax that we did about 2 years ago. Patient came back and needed a root canal. The doctor asked us to make a metal post and to do another Emax on it, which will not work. That gray post will show through the Emax, even if you opaque it. It will never, never look natural. So we made a metal post over it, and we put a Zirlux transition crown over it. You know, for having a metal post under this crown, I think it's blending really, really nice. We could not achieve the incisor we really wanted to match here, which is okay for a canine, that they're naturally a little bit darker, but we had to have some compromisation. And that's one of the things we work with our customers a lot in managing your expectations. We're not magicians. We can do with what we have, and we have the best. So saying all that, when a customer calls and say, I want an Emax on that, we will call and say, this is not gonna work. But we have a good solution for you that's gonna blend in really nice. So if you're not gonna look into that patient's mouth and look for what's different, this will blend in, you'll never see it. On this case over here, you see how dark the patient's natural teeth is. After they're prepped, they're like A3.5, maybe A4. So again, we wanted to create something that had a very strong bite. We did a full mouth, upper and lower. And the doctor wanted something that will not break and will mask everything under it. And obviously they wanted aesthetic. The patient did it for aesthetic reasons. So again, we went with the Zirlux transition for this case, which basically we do for everything. And we're able to mask all this yellow dark discoloration under and achieve beautiful transition of colors, translucency on incisals, and we did this with solid. We didn't apply any porcelain to this. That's about it. I would like to see if you guys have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Ben. We do have a couple of questions. The first one is, what made you change to Zirlux Transitions, and how did you make that decision?
Okay, that's a good question. So when we started to, and we've been experimenting, we have an R&D department, which I think everybody should have an R&D. Even if you're a 2-man lab or you are a 100-man lab, you need to have an R&D. You want to test any material that is offered to you from a sales reps, from a company, whatever it is. You want to test everything. And that's one of the things we do. So when we are exposed to this material, we decide let's do R&D on it. And this is what we do, and I suggest everybody does that. That's the way to decide without taking my word for it, to decide if to use it. We took an interior design of an interior crown, and we took a design of a molar, just out of our files of something we already did. We milled each one of them 3 times. And then we centered them on 3 different programs. So we took the one interior and one posterior crown, we put them in one program. The next day, during the day, we did the other program on other 2, and the next day after that. And because it has that beautiful, I suggest to do it, by the way, with an A3, so you can really see the transition in colors from the gingival area to the incisal area. That will really give you the nice transition of colors. You can see before you even glaze them, you can see the difference in them. And then you can choose either to use 2 of those programs, 3 of those programs, maybe work with 4 programs. So it's changing the oven 5 to 10 degrees to get different results. Depends how detailed you want to get. And then let your ceramist stain them and tell them, this was centered for a high translucency zirconia, and this was centered for just a solid zirconia. So the high translucency, you want to give it more characterization, and the solid zirconia, you want to basically just stain it because you want customers to know the difference, and you want to know the difference. And after we did that, we saw the results, and we're like, we don't need 3 different zirconias. We can use 1 zirconia and just stain it different and center it different. So if you have 1 centering oven, you can run a night program and a day program, or if you have 2, you just divide them into 2 different ovens every night, and then you have the high translucency and the regular solid zirconia. But that's basically what made us make that change and choice.
Okay, and we have one more question. Is there a lot of post-characterization with transitions?
Only when you want to go to the high translucency. So as you saw on this case here, yeah, we did a lot of characterization because it's a high aesthetic case. We're going to charge a lot of money for it. We centered it to have high translucency on it. And that's when our lab slip says high translucency, our ceramists they need to give it more characterizations to achieve that translucency. But if you're just going for a solid zirconia basic crown, that's probably your lowest charged crown. You don't need to do a lot to it to achieve the shade. The shades are dead on. What comes out of the pack is what's written in the pack. If it's A2, you get A2, and you can play with that with your centering ovens. And that's why I say to play with your centering. You buy 1 pack, go ahead, order 1 pack A2, A3, and play with your centering ovens, because your centering oven might run 5 degrees under mine. So the programs you're going to get from Zahn or from your vendor are going to be the basic right temperatures, but none of our ovens, after working every day for 10, 12 hours, are going to run the same temperatures. So you need to either keep on calibrating your oven or keep on adjusting it to get the right results. So I say get the program from Zahn that comes actually with the material. And you also get like little test units with the material to calibrate your oven for it, but then play with it to get your results. You can take your oven a little bit lower temperature, a bit higher temperature to achieve the results you want.